If we could talk to the animals, learn all their languages, maybe take an animal degree. If I conferred with our furry friends, man to animal, think of the amazing repartee. If I could walk with the animals, talk with the animals, grunt and squeak and squawk with the animals, and they could talk to me.
Hello and welcome to Pet Watch, a monthly program about Williamson County Animal Center. Yes, you heard me right. We have changed our name slightly at the County Animal Shelter, and my guest today is Laura Chavarria, our director. Hey, Laura.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good. We're bringing in 2015 with some changes at the shelter, and one of the things is we had a very long name before, Williamson County Animal Control and Adoption Center. It was hard to say, it was long, and it didn't really encompass all of the services that we provide. So tell me how this evolution started in your mind and why Williamson County Animal Center is a better name.
We wanted something that encompasses every service that we provide, and as you know, working there, we provide a lot of services for the public. We also wanted something that was friendly, something that had attractive colors. So we went with something with the meet your match colors, which are green, purple, and orange. We wanted something that made you feel like you were bonded to an animal. You know, it was heartwarming. So we wanted to get away from the seal effect to something that kind of was more heartwarming. So we went with a roof, which looks like a shelter, which is what we are.
Or a home, or a new home. Yeah.
Something that covers the animals with love, food, water, shelter, everything that they need. And again, a shorter name because that makes things a lot easier.
Now, and under the bottom of our logo, we have the four major areas that the Animal Center works in. They're adoption, enforcement, spay, neuter, and education. Mm-hmm. Let's start with adoption. Obviously, our goal is to save every life that comes in the shelter by finding it a new home. We adopt animals to the public every day. And what are some of the other ways that we find animals new homes?
We do rescue, which means sending it to a rescue that either specifies a certain breed that they want or elderly animals. So we work very closely with rescues. We work with Big Fluffy Dog, which is huge in Middle Tennessee. We also do transport. We're a rescue wagon partner with PetSmart Charities, and we actually transport animals up north or to New England. It's hard to wrap your head around, but there's places in the United States that have a shortage of animals due to stricter laws, which are mandating spay and neuter, anti-tethering, things like that, things that we don't have here. So we transport those animals up north where there's a waiting list for people to adopt them. So very mind-blowing, but that's another way that we transport or relocate animals in addition to adoption.
And a rescue group, like local groups like Big Fluffy Dog, mm-hmm. or groups like the Rescue Wagon through PetSmart, they actually find the home for the animal. So to clarify, they do find a new home. Mm-hmm. They don't stay with that rescue group. They go on to be with a family in a family setting, mm-hmm. just like it would in a straight adoption if you came into our shelter. Enforcement is the next part of our new logo, and enforcement involves our animal control officers and a vigilant public too. Mm-hmm. So what are the typical things our animal control officers do?
They do everything. They are the face of the shelter. They're out there in the community. They patrol the streets to make sure that it's a safe environment. They do bite case reports. They do education out in the public to schools. They do job shadowing days, which is really interesting. They love that. You name it, they do it. They patrol for stray animals. They help when cats are up in trees, anything. I mean, it's kind of...
They ride at Christmas parades.
They ride at Christmas parades. They do. We want to make sure that people can approach them and they're comfortable approaching them because we want to be out there to help people with any animal question that they need, education, or problem that they have.
Sure, and even if a citizen just has a suspicion, they've seen an animal that they think may not be receiving proper care, it's easy to call. An officer will do a drive-by call, a welfare check on that family without ever knowing who called in. So we do depend on the public to be vigilant and bring to our attention, and then we'll report back what we found and either educate the owner or change the situation or possibly even bring the animal in or find the person. So we do depend on the public for that. Education, that's another big part. You talked about our animal control officers are involved in that. They went to a career day recently for the Williamson County schools, and that drew a lot of attention. Some of the other ways we educate the public are what?
It's every facet of the shelter. It could be when somebody comes in to adopt, we educate them on what would fit their lifestyle to make sure that it's a good match. It could be your job, which is public outreach. You go out and do adoption events and go out into the community and educate them on any question that they have. Just being there and being approached by the public is important.
The other is spay-neuter, and we have a public spay-neuter program that many people might not know about. And it is for family pets who are already in people's homes. They don't have to come from our shelter. They could come from anywhere. But the importance of spay-neuter is so great because it reduces the unwanted pet population. So what is our spay-neuter program? How does that function for the public?
If somebody's interested in getting a no-cost spay and neuter, they have to be a Williamson County resident. That's the first thing. They call our phone number and they speak to the girls up front who does the actual the guidelines to it. There's certain amounts that you have to make annually. It's $50,000. It also depends on how many people reside in your home. So there's certain guidelines. Once you meet those guidelines, then we schedule an appointment to have your animal sterilized. Could be a cat or a dog. Those are the only two we do. We don't do horses or goats or anything outside of the domestic realm.
So if you're $50,000 or less for your household income, you might qualify for this program.
Correct.
So call and make an appointment. And our veterinarian, with some help from outside vets once in a while, but mostly on her own, does this entire spay-neuter program in the building. You bring the animal in the morning, you pick it up in the afternoon, and last year she did 772 public spay-neuter program surgeries.
Yes, and that's, just think of how many less animals that is for us to take in next year, the year after that, or the year after that. So it's a huge impact. It's great for the community because a lot of people can't afford to have their animals sterilized, and we want to do what's best for the animal.
Well, that's phenomenal that to have a veterinarian there like Dr. Birch, but to have her do 775 under this grant is amazing. And the program is continuing through 2015, so call and make your appointments. Sometimes they're about 30 days out. We have such a demand for it, but we are continuing that, and usually it's a couple of days a week she dedicates to it, doesn't she?
I think she does it about 3 days a week.
Yeah. Well, let's go look back now that it's the first of 2015. Everyone's reflecting on the great events of 2014, and we have our own list at the shelter.
We do.
We had a record number of animals taken in this year. I don't think that's such a great accomplishment, but we'd like to reduce that instead of increase it. We had an increase of about 400 over last year. We took in 3,550 animals last year. That's owner surrenders, strays, and 3,500 is still a lot in a county like this.
I think a huge reason why the number increased this year is because we started the TNR program. So when people understood that we didn't euthanize feral cats, but rather we sterilize them, vaccinate them, and return them back to where they came from, people were more comfortable bringing those type of animals to us. So I think that kind of explains a little bit of the increase in the number.
That's good, and that means the TNR you refer to would be trap, neuter, release, and that's for feral cats that previously might be euthanized in another shelter. But now that we have this program, we spay and neuter those animals and return them back to the colony, they call it, that they live in. These are cats that don't socialize with families.
Correct.
Right? They live in barns, they live in family groups called colonies, and they are a godsend to some of the people that have barns.
They are.
They keep the mice population down, and they just exist there. But if you don't spay and neuter a feral cat colony, what happens?
They multiply and multiply and multiply. So that's why the TNR program is so important, so that we can help reduce the amount of feral cats that we see out in the community.
Well, it's amazing, and I think when we talked about intake, we had a record number of intakes in 2014, but we also had a record number of adoptions.
We did.
And outcomes, and that was 2,552. So our save rate for the year was 92.3.
Correct.
An amazing, amazing number, which in many communities and many organizations would call that a no-kill shelter. We're not going to go into that, but Our shelter never euthanizes for time or space. So in that respect, we are no-kill, and we only euthanize in the most critical medical cases where the life of the animal is threatened, or they're in pain, or they cannot be saved.
Correct.
So 92.3, congratulations on that.
Thank
There are many
you.
factors that went into that.
There are. I mean, it's a team effort. You mentioned Dr. Birch earlier, and she makes every avenue to place that animal. Like you said, if it's not a medical issue or behavioral, we've just made so many strides, and it's because the community has been supportive, the volunteers have been supportive, the staff. It takes a village, and hopefully this year we can keep it going.
You mentioned volunteers. There are about 260 active volunteers now at the shelter, and they give 1,000 hours a month. Now, these are not just dog walkers, and one of the reasons I believe our numbers of volunteers and the number of hours have increased is because we increased our cat volunteer program and changed parameters on that a little bit and made it easier and gave those cat volunteers some things to do.
Yes, they have come in droves in the past, I'd say 3 to 6 months. They're adoption ambassadors. They help socialize the animals. Cats don't really do well in a shelter environment, so they're good at socializing them, calming them down. I think we have 30 right now that are awesome. They come in every day. They help match people up with an animal that would fit their lifestyle. So we didn't have that last year, and I'm glad to say that the cat volunteers have really beefed up. It's been great.
It's made a real difference. Saturday's usually a big adoption day, and we've always had dog walkers and dog volunteers in and out, and volunteers at the front. But to go in the cat room and find a couple of people every Saturday, maybe one in the kitten room and one in the cat room or more, that can say, "Hi, are you looking for a certain type of cat? What do you like?" Well, and to know the personality traits of those cats, it's amazing. We also started placing our cats at 2 pet stores called Hometown Pet. They opened 2 new locations in Fairview and Franklin this year, and they have what they call Cozy Cat Motel, and it is super.
It is very impressive. They have brand new, I don't even want to call them cages, but they're condos, and they're glass, but they each have room for 8 animals per location, so that's 16. It's another platform where we can be out in the community, educate people, let them know that we're here. We have animals that are up for adoption that are healthy and happy, and it's been super successful. It started in October, and it's just been beneficial for both parties.
So if you adopt a cat from Hometown Pet in Fairview or Franklin, you're adopting a shelter cat. So it's kind of like almost a remote location for us for cats. And then occasionally we're at those stores on special occasions with our dogs too. So that's the kind of corporate involvement that we like, because Hometown Pet came to us when they said, "Hey, we're opening these 2 stores. Would you like to put your cats in our store?" And we said yes, because Fairview gives another market. It's another market for us. It is a long way sometimes from Fairview back to the shelter. So that one in particular serves as kind of a remote adoption location for us. So if any of our viewers are out in Fairview and they want to go see our cats, they're every day at the Hometown Pet store there in the new public shopping center in Fairview. We also introduced some training programs for our volunteers. We mentioned that the cat volunteers now have a sheet that they follow of what they do when they come in the cat room, and that has cut down on the transmission of upper respiratory, which can be a problem with cats. And also we introduced a peer training program where our dog volunteers, new ones, get matched up with the more experienced. How does that work exactly?
I think it helps build team morale, but as soon as somebody comes in and they do the orientation, which we do monthly for cats and dogs, it's separate now. Once they do the orientation, they sign up for a training slot, and they do group training. So we'll take an older volunteer that's experienced, has been there for a while, shows leadership skills, will volunteer, and they'll actually take a group and train them on the ins and outs of volunteering, and it creates team morale, and it's been beneficial. We've been doing that for the past couple months as well.
Right, and I've seen great relationships develop between some of our teenage volunteers who are so conscientious, and how they grow, and it's all about the apron color. The dog volunteers do have to be more experienced to handle larger dogs, and they have different colors of aprons that they like to sort of progress toward, and there's a certain number of hours they have to spend. And the older volunteers, or not the older, but the more experienced volunteers know things about dog behavior, they know things about leashes, they know about the personalities. And one outgrowth of that, which I've enjoyed, is when they write the profiles.
Yeah.
Because they spend time with the animal outside the kennel, out in the play area, and they can tell you things about each dog that would amaze you. Because when you observe them in a kennel setting, you're not really seeing their real behavior. You're seeing a stress situation. So we appreciate our volunteers so much.
Thank you.
And you mentioned the rescue wagon, which goes up north. I want to make sure people know that 237 animals were relocated to shelters there, and we do track them.
We do. The maximum amount of time it takes for an animal once they're up north and in that shelter to get rehomed is 3 days. No one usually is there after
Wow.
3 days. And there's a waiting list. They have strict adoption policies, so we know that they're going into forever loving homes. So it's an awesome program. We couldn't do our jobs without it. We definitely rely heavily on them in the summer because we are inundated with cats and dogs, whereas now we're a little slower. So we don't have transport in January, February, but June, July, and August, we do 2 to 3 transports a month.
And they're a little bit particular about what they want, and that's okay. And with today's technology, we just videotape the animals and send them through an email, and they look at them and say, I want those 8 or those 7, and then the truck drives up with the employees. It says rescue wagon on the side, and that's fun. That's a fun day.
It is. Volunteers love to get on board and get the animals ready, and they have to have a certain collar on, and then yeah, they're behavior tested, their health tested because they have to have a health certificate. So there's a lot of things that we have to do to get in line to make sure that those animals can go up north, but it's a worthwhile program.
Oh, sure is. You also were awarded, we mentioned the feral cat program, the trap, neuter, release program. The Greater Nashville Regional Council awarded us a certificate for public safety, a public safety award back during the year for that program because it was initiated in the shelter, and it does create fewer animals out in the field that we have to pick up. And
now they're vaccinated, so there's no rabies concern with them like there used to be. So that's a huge accomplishment.
Okay. That's another thing. I didn't think about that. That is important. Now, the biggest thing that happened to us last year was we were able to win second place in the Rachel Ray $100,000 challenge, and that was an exciting day. We were awarded a $22,000 grant for the shelter, and that took a whole summer of hard work. It was like having an event every day for 90 days, but we did it, and it was a wonderful day to get that check and that special messenger to show up at the shelter to tell us what we had won.
It was a lot of work, but it was a huge payoff with how many animals that we helped and how many lives that we saved.
We have also instituted a new program where our Kroger Plus cards are now tied to the shelter. Now, tell us about that program.
So there's a little keychain card, which is your membership card, and you can choose an organization on their website who you want to have a percentage of your proceeds to go back to. And so now we're on that list, and I'm happy to say that we received our first check, and it was very successful. It can help us continue to do those spay and neuters for the public. It can help pay for medical care for animals that come in with a broken leg or upper respiratory. So that program is huge with getting the funds in that we need to keep the programs going.
Sometimes you mentioned we do have special medical needs, which can't be taken care of in the shelter, and I know that the list could go on forever, but we had several animals that required cancer treatments. We have had animals that required confinement in a different facility for heartworm treatment. We've had special medical needs and testing that needed to be done at an outside lab, and those are not items that usually you budget for. Some of those animals do stand out in your mind that have special needs, and during the year I tried to think of a couple. First that came to my mind was Dolores. We called her the Wonder Dog.
You can't forget about Dolores because she was such a large dog and such a large personality. But yes, she lost a significant amount of weight due to water therapy treatment and being in a foster home and being on an exercise regimen and controlled diet. So she was a huge success story.
Yeah, I think she came in at 86 pounds and went out at about 57, or she's maintaining 57. Now, when she first came in, she sat on a pillow behind the front desk and really was obese for a dog. I mean, morbidly obese to the point of threatening her health. Everyone thought she had all kinds of medical problems, and she did have a few.
She did.
that needed to be addressed, but a lot of them were related to her confinement, the fact that she was just sitting all day. So it's an amazing story, and I saw a video of her playing in the backyard, chasing balls with kids in her new family. So, you know, is that Dolores? That's the first thing I said.
That can't be the same dog.
That can't be her, because she could barely walk out the door when she came in. So instead of ignoring her, it took a village. I think she had a surgery, she had a weight control, she had some medication, but now she's a happy, healthy dog in a new home. So that's a story that stood out in my mind. One of the others was one of our three-legged friends named Lieutenant Dan, after the character in Forrest Gump.
Yes.
We were in our summer of movie names, so we named this dog Lieutenant Dan. Can you briefly tell us Lieutenant Dan's story?
Yeah, he came in with a broken leg. It looked like he was possibly hit by a car and drugged. Thankfully, Dr. Birch assessed him and saw that he needed to have his leg amputated. She quickly did it with her team. The next day, usually they're a little groggy and they're on medication. The next day, we went to his cage and he was up, standing on three legs, wagging his tail. It was like a miracle, pretty much. Dr. Birch started crying, I started crying. We were actually having the building worked on by an outside construction firm, and they wanted a dog. They saw Lieutenant Dan. He'd only had his leg removed for probably 2 days. He fell in love. He has, I think, 6 kids at home.
This is the man with the 6 kids.
6 kids at home. You know, brought his wife in, met the dog, fell in love, and so now Lieutenant Dan loves to sleep on the couch and be entertained by 6 kids. So it's just those type of stories where you see an animal come in injured and just sad, and then go home to a loving home where he's spoiled. It
sets us apart from many public shelters. In many ways, we are different than many public shelters around the Middle Tennessee area, and that's one of the things that is the full-time veterinarian. Having her there makes all the difference in the world. No one in any other public shelter would even attempt a surgery of this kind, and Lieutenant Dan is living a wonderful life because we have such a good veterinary staff, and that was done in our office. We do have a surgery suite there. Many people don't realize we have a full-time veterinarian. Dr. Birch is very busy with she did the 750 surgeries for the public for spay-neuter, and then she spays or neuters all the animals that are adopted from our shelter. So she's very busy all the time. And then when these special cases come in, it is nice for her to be able to employ the more complicated surgical skills. There's a nice glassed-in surgery suite back in the veterinary office. There's a recovery area. We have full-time assistants for her and a couple of part-time. So we do depend on the public. You mentioned one of our dogs had water therapy. We don't have that at our building. But however, there are veterinary offices and animal rehab specialists in the area that donate their time to us and allow us to bring special cases to their attention. And we appreciate that so much.
We do.
We also have a dog that's now a shelter dog that's now being trained to be a companion for a soldier who might have post-traumatic stress disorder. So that's an interesting program that Andrea Robinson down in Spring Hill has, Fetching Freedom. And what's just the dog that she's now training? Is it Sully?
Sully is his name.
Yeah, Sully is learning to recognize the signs of post-traumatic stress and what he's to do, what his tasks are with Andrea. And when he's ready, he will be placed with a veteran who needs that help. Things like crowd control or anxiousness. The dog is trained to sort of like a diabetic alert dog would be trained to recognize those symptoms.
And that's all at no cost to the veteran. It's all through donations through them. But Andrea Robinson is now an employee of ours. She does public outreach and she does dog training, which is huge. She helps with animal behavior, and she has been a huge asset in the past year.
One of the things we want to tell our friends today is a very special thing that we've been holding back for 3 months. We're in the Puppy Bowl, and on Super Bowl Sunday on Animal Planet at 3 o'clock, you will be able to see 2 puppies. Laura took these puppies to New York and for the audition and taping a couple of months ago, I believe it was.
October.
Wonderful experience, but we haven't been able to talk about it till now. But we do know that puppy's name,
Miss Martian.
Miss Martian,
And Mr. Fantastic.
and Mr. Fantastic are from the Williamson County Animal Shelter. If you
They
look
are.
on the Animal Planet website now, you will see them. Mr. Fantastic is front and center and he's a little hound-looking puppy, black with brown-tipped ears, and he's pulling on a green
rope toy.
Green rope toy. It was a great experience, wasn't it?
It was, and it was fully funded by a donor, and it just is invaluable. Reaching out to people that were involved in that and creating relationships and just having fun with the animals was amazing. And they're not puppies anymore. You know, that was 3 months ago.
Yeah.
So actually, one of the dogs was adopted by a staff member at Animal Planet. Miss Martian is now living in Washington, D.C. and is happy and healthy, and will have her own blog coming up this year.
Okay, well, watch our website for more information about that Puppy Bowl. But during the Super Bowl, if you're not a football fan, we encourage you to watch the Puppy Bowl because it's irresistible.
It is.
If you haven't seen it, it's a lot of fun. 2015, we're doing some things that to improve the shelter, installing some more skylights. They called sun tunnels. We're starting a corporate sponsorship program. If anyone has a company they'd like to sponsor all our adoptions for a month or have us come out and do an event at their office, we'd love to do that. We are also looking at installing a dishwasher. Believe it or not, we hand wash all the dog bowls. So we have some goals and some pieces of equipment we need. Our washer and dryer we got last year have been invaluable in efficiency and not wasting staff time with small washers and dryers that were donated to us. Now we have a wonderful industrial size one because we do wash and bleach and reuse towels and things all day long. On January 10th, we will be at Hometown Pet Store, the Fairview location, from 10 to 12 on January 10th. We'll be bringing the dogs. The cat's already there in the Cozy Cat Motel. And then in the afternoon, we'll go to the Franklin Hometown Pet Store, which is by the new Kroger store on Highway 96. If you're thinking of adopting a pet, please come to Williamson County Animal Center. We're located at 106 Claude Yates Drive next to Franklin High School. We're open for intake every day from Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and adoptions Monday through Friday from 10 to 6 and Saturday 11 to 3. And you can also call us anytime at 790-5590 about any services we offer, any questions you have, or any concerns in the community, or to sign up for spay-neuter for your family pet. I want to thank Laura for being here today.
Thank you.
And please like us on Facebook. On Facebook, we're listed as Williamson County Animal Shelter. If we may figure out how to change that, we may not. But anyway, if you put Williamson County Animal Shelter, you will find us there. We do daily updates. We have wonderful, heartwarming stories about adoptions, and we would love to see a new pet go into your home. Thank you for watching Pet Watch, and I hope to see you again next month.
If we could talk to the animals, learn all their languages, maybe take an animal degree. If I conferred with our furry friends, man to animal, think of the amazing repartee. If I could walk with the animals, talk with the animals, grunt and squeak and squawk with the animals, and they could talk to me.
Hi, my name is Tanir. I chose this book because the pictures are really good. This is one of my favorite pictures, and you can learn some facts about them too. This is one of my favorite facts. It tells a lot about history, and it tells you different types of countries and like cities. And like German's like friend, he really likes the sport, and he wanted German Stelson to come with him and do the race across America with him. And German Stelson wins the race.
Good play!